Hello. Now let's get started with lesson 9, which is going to talk about the different tenses. So this lesson would be exclusively on present tense. Now, why do we need to understand about tenses? Because tenses basically tell you the time of the action. If you're using present tense, it denotes that the action is happening today, in the present. If your tense is past, that means it happened before and maybe it is not happening now at all. Or if it is future tense, then it refers to the future time that it will happen in the future. For example, I write, I love, which means in the present I write. Maybe I would continue to write, but right now in the present I write. Similarly, I wrote, that means I wrote, in the past time, maybe a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. I shall write or I will write. Shall and will are mostly interchangeable. So which means you will write. You haven't written anything. You haven't started writing anything. You will write in the future time. Let's talk about the present tense. So present tense is basically it refers, when you're talking about the first person, then you use the present tense as I eat in singular and we eat in plural. In case of second person, you say you eat. It is the same for the plural, you eat. For the third person, you say he eats, and in case of plural, it is they eat. So just remember one thing. In fact, a lot of students think that when I have birds with an S, then I should have eats also with an S. But it is the other way. Birds eat, bird eats. Similarly, he is singular, so my singular form of eat is eats. My plural form of eat is eat. So he eats, they eat. Similarly, in the past tense, for the first person who is speaking, it is I ate or we ate for plural. In case of second person, it is you ate, both in singular and plural form. And for the third person, it is he ate or they ate. So your future tense is basically denoted by will or shall, which are mostly interchangeable. The word will is more definite than shall because shall also talks about possibility. It may not happen, but will is definite. So for the first person, I shall will eat. This is in singular. In plural, we shall will eat. Second person, you will eat. This is same in singular and plural. In case of third person, he will eat. And in case of plural, they will eat. Now let's discuss the present tense, simple present tense in this. Now, simple present tense means he drinks milk every day. He eats food every day. So, it is used with the actions which are regular and repetitive, especially when words like daily, every day, and nowadays are used. Do not think that because you take 15 minutes to drink milk, you should say, I am drinking milk every day. No. This action is repetitive. It is the same action as it is which you do every day. So therefore you would use simple present tense. He drinks milk every day. I go home every Sunday. You also use simple present tense in case of universal truth. The sun rises in the east. Or it is used with actions that may happen in future, but they were planned in advance. For example, the train arrives at 6 p.m. So the train arrives tomorrow, day after, every day. It's a fixed time that it arrives at 6 p.m. But if my question is, what time will your train arrive tomorrow? Which means I'm actually trying to ask a question about some event in the future. Then you will say the train will arrive at 6 p.m. tomorrow. But if I say, what time does your train arrive? That means every day it arrives at the same time, which is 6 p.m. Let's now discuss the second type of present tense, which is present continuous tense. This is used for the ongoing action specific to the moment. For example, I'm playing football now. I'm still painting the wall. It is also used in case of exclamatory sentences. Look, it is going to rain. This form of sentences, as I've told you before, is only used for informal conversations during speaking, not for writing. Then it can also be used for future action. I'm going home next Sunday, right? Now, with present continuous tense, we try to form this tense by taking the help of an auxiliary or helping verb. Now, this is one mistake that most of the students make. They only use the present continuous tense alone, and that makes your sentence, meaningless. Suppose my sentence is, I am painting the wall, and you make a sentence, I painting the wall. Does it make any sense? It doesn't make any sense. I painting the wall. We can only use ing alone without an auxiliary verb when it acts as a gerund. Like painting the wall is my hobby. But if you use it as a verb, you have to use it with an auxiliary or a helping verb. Otherwise, your sentence will not make sense. For example, they are playing cricket really well. Some people write, they playing cricket really well. It doesn't make sense. They are playing. You cannot skip or miss your auxiliary verb. It is mandatory to have your auxiliary verb with the present continuous tense. Otherwise the sentence will not make sense. Okay, so the following verbs on account of their meaning are not normally used in their continuous forms, although you might find some exceptions in the recent times because of the influence of colloquial languages. Verbs of perception: see, hear, smell, notice, recognize. Appear: look, seem, want, wish, desire, feel like, love, hate, hope, refuse, prefer. Do you ever say that I am preferring to do this? You would rather say, I prefer to do this. It is not a continuous action that it will take you time to prefer. Or would you say that I'm refusing to do this? It doesn't make any sense. You can simply say, I refuse to do this, I refused, I will refuse, but refusing doesn't make any sense. Similarly, think, suppose, believe, agree, consider, trust. With these words also, we somehow avoid using ing, the continuous form. Now, what are the common mistakes that people make? These grapes are tasting sour. So you think that you're going to take some time in eating grapes so you can use ing, it's a continuous action? No. When these grapes would taste sour all the time, it's a regular action. So you would simply use these grapes taste sour. So this should be noted down in your checkpoint list, that be very careful when you are using your present continuous form. Are you using it correctly? Are you interchanging it where you actually needed to put your simple present tense, you're putting your continuous form? Please, you have to cross check so that you ensure that your sentence is grammatically correct. So this is a common mistake which the students make. They interchange simple present tense with present continuous form or vice versa, making their sentence grammatically incorrect. Similarly, computer is playing a vital role in our lives. Does it make any sense? No, it doesn't. It plays a vital role. It's a regular action. I'm thinking you are wrong. This doesn't make sense. This doesn't mean that you're thinking for quite some time, so you will use thinking. No, I think, because think is like I believe you are wrong. She's seeming upset. This is also not correct. She seems upset. So please take care of these mistakes and try not to make them, because when when you make these kind of mistakes, it gives an impression as if you haven't understood the concept of tenses properly. Now let's try to understand the present perfect tense. This is used to denote the activities which completed in the immediate past. For example, he has eaten food. And these in fact these tenses are sometimes used with the words just or already, to denote that they just finished. So he has just struck 10, or he has eaten his food, which means he must have eaten just now. So since these events or activities got completed in the immediate past, you need not write your time period. If you want to write your time period, please change the sentence into past tense. For example, you will say I have visited Agra, but you cannot say I have visited Agra in 2007. You want to give the time period, you should change your tense from present perfect to past tense. I visited Agra in 2007. Have you read have you read Arabian Nights? I have never known him to be angry. Mr. Harish has been to China twice this year. So these are the actions where the past actions are expressed, whose time is not given and not definite. Now, this is also used to describe past events when we think more of their effect in the present than of the action itself. Ramesh has eaten all the apples, which means there is nothing left for you. I've cut my finger, which implies that it is bleeding now. I have finished my task, which means I'm free. Okay, so this is another point which should be added in your checkpoint list is the mistake that students make by interchanging past tense with present perfect tense. If you have time period, please use past tense and not present perfect tense. Next is the following adverbs or adverb phrases can also be used with the present perfect like never, ever, so far, till now, yet, already, today, this week, this month, or just. It is never used with adverbs of past time. Now, this is something which I've already told you. You cannot write he has gone to Delhi yesterday. You can only write he went to Delhi yesterday. Or you can simply write he has gone to Delhi, full stop. Now, next is present perfect continuous tense. The present perfect continuous is used for an action which began at some time in the past and is still continuing. So if you look at the word present perfect continuous, it takes apart from present perfect because what is present perfect? It started in the past, just finished. So what is your present continuous? Something which is already continuing. It's ongoing. So when you try to combine the two words and form present perfect continuous, then you talk about explain it as an action which started in the past but did not finish. It's still continuing. They have been building the bridge for several months. That means they started in the past and they're still doing it. They have been playing since 4 o'clock. This tense is also sometimes used for an action already finished. Why are your clothes so wet? I have been watering the plants, which means you've been watering, from quite some time. So one common mistake or blunder that students make is when you're asked that, where are you working? I am working in this company from the last 3 years, which means you started in the past. If you started in the past, you cannot use present continuous. You have to use present perfect continuous. You can only use present continuous with an action which is ongoing that moment, irrespective when it started. If you want to answer, I am working in IBM, full stop. If you want to say, I have been working in IBM from the last 3 years or since 2006, you have to use present perfect continuous when you're giving the time period. So this is also one of the important points which you can add in your checkpoint list is to check the correct usage of present perfect continuous to ensure that your present continuous and present perfect continuous are not interchanged and they're used correctly in the sentence. So that's all about tenses. I hope it was useful. In the further lessons, we'll go through the other forms of tenses and I'll so you stay tuned. Happy learning.